Hi there, it's Richard Bugler from Albert Goodman Accountants.
So we've listened to the autumn budget. Just run through the main talking points, if you will.
Yeah, the Chancellor stood up in the government's first major economic announcement since Brexit, and he started off in the traditional way, coming out with some of his statistics produced by the Office of Budget Responsibility. It wasn't great news on the economy, I'm afraid. Borrowing will be up and growth is down, and he said that actually, even though our growth is down, we're still pretty much on a par with other EU countries. In terms of the budget, there weren't really any rabbits out of the hat this time round. There were no great surprises. What he did say, which was interesting, was that our growth in the UK, the growth in GDP, was 2.4% lower as a result of Brexit, which was quite interesting. How on earth they calculated that, I don't know. What he also said was that he's abandoned the government's target of reducing the deficit by 2019-20. He didn't commit himself at all on when the deficit would be reduced. He simply said as soon as possible. They were his sort of economic forecasts. In terms of how it affects families, the national living wage increase was already pre-announced. That's going up from £7.20 an hour to £7.50 an hour. The personal allowance, that's the level at which you start paying tax, will increase to £11,500 next April. He also talked about a relaxing in the way that universal credits is pared back when you go into employment. So that's good news for those coming out of benefits into employment. Probably one of the most interesting things he announced was a new savings bond, which will allow individuals to save up to £3,000 over a 3-year period, attaining an interest rate of 2.2%. So that was a bit of good news for savers. And I think for about the 6th or 7th year in a row, he announced there will be no increase in fuel duty. Just in terms of our communities, he said that there was going to be major investment in the infrastructure and innovation in our communities. He particularly talked about digital connectivity and some large investment in that, hopefully involving move to 5G mobile. He did say that there will be no changes in the spending plans that have already been announced, with one exception, and that's plans to create 2,500 new prison officer jobs. In terms of business, I think businesses are going to go away slightly disappointed. Businesses were expecting some further help given the uncertainty and the sort of challenging economic climate they face. Corporation tax rates are already announced to come down. They're not coming down any faster, they're just staying as is. So I think in terms of business, they'll probably think, we could have had a bit more in that budget, frankly. In terms of surprises, well, there weren't really many. Probably the biggest surprise was that this will be the Chancellor's last autumn statement. One or two people thought he was resigning, but what he actually said was that there would be no more autumn statements. We're actually going to move to an autumn budget. So actually, it's going to be once a year that the major announcements are going to be made in the future, not twice a year. So I think all in all, it kind of met with our expectations for this particular Chancellor. No frills, very much sort of steady as she goes.